How's it going, Scrub Gamers? Welcome back to another video here at ScrubGames, and today we have our next instance of my Deck of the Week video. We'll give it a deck list I've been enjoying for this week, and for this one, it's a budget version as well, so it's a budget deck that you can try out as well, and that is Nalisay Exploit. So if you watched any of the, what's it called? The FFG weekly streams on Wednesday, like when they had one a little bit back, where they're playing decks. It's more competitive decks, and I think it's Danny Schaefer, the guy on it, brought in a Nalisay Exploit deck, and I didn't give out the list or anything, but just went just watching the game played, just seeing the idea behind it, just was really excited. I thought it was really cool, and I wanted to try and test it out, but of course there's no deck list to it, so I just built it together from what I saw and a few changes for myself to kind of build it and try it out, and it's been a lot of fun. Like, I've been having a lot of fun with it on Camera Blast. I've been having a lot of fun with it just shadow testing it, and also playing at my locals. So if you do want to check out the gameplay of it, you can check out my videos from this week on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, where I got my rounds from the locals testing it, gameplay of me showing you how it works, and we're going to go over and basically explain how it goes with this. But before we do get into that, remember that you can like, comment, and subscribe to keep up to date with my videos as when they drop. And also you can click the notification bell to get alerts when my videos do drop, so you can watch them either there and then, or at later time suits you best, so you can always check it out. Now that all out of the way, let's go ahead and check out my Exploit Nalisay list. So here we have the list, and like you see, we're going with the Nalisay and the Droid manufacturer base, because we didn't know what the base does. Essentially, when you deploy your leader, which for Nalisay is early as 4 resources, so as early as turn 3, then you create 2 battle droid tokens, and these are handy because they're little units you can exploit off to power some bigger units. So nice benefit there, and also you can trigger this very quickly because Nalisay deploys very early. Because this is what Nalisay does, and she is she's just a Kaminoan. I think that's how you pronounce it, Kaminoan. That's all she has. So there's no benefit from the traits, but she deploys at 4 resources and comes down as a 1/7, so a lot of bulk but very little power. And the only thing she really has on both sides is this, just like with Hera, a deck building effect where and a deck building and playing effect where you basically ignore the aspect penalty on all clone units you play. So any clone you play in this, you ignore the aspect penalty, so you can play like heroic clones in here, which is cool, or clones that aren't the aspects you've got from it herself and the base. So you can play like red or yellow clones, or even just heroic clones with this, which is cool. And when she is deployed, she gives you an extra benefit of whenever one of your clone units is defeated, you get a heal 2 from your base. It means you can exploit off your clones and your base washes out, and basically make use of those clones, which is cool. Because you have a nice little clone core you can put in here, and also some good cards to exploit them off, and just have some benefits from it. And I've got these aspects quite nice, because with this aspect combo, you have some really good cards. We're not using all of them, but you've got some pretty nice stuff you can add. Because remember, you can play heroic cards like all the droids in a deck. Like you can have tech, which tech in a dark side deck is something that no other deck really has, and it still won't play the aspect penalty cost. But you can ignore it in this. I mean, you can not exploit, but smuggle things in from resources using tech, which is cool, which no other dark deck has access to. So some nice benefits there, and also you have the lowest health on your base, but you do get some benefits from deploying early and getting some early fodder, get some big things very quickly. So we're going to start off first with the Clone Core. And the Clone Core comprises of the Bad Batch lot. So we've got 3 Omega, 2 Tech, and 3 Wrecker. So nice benefit here, you can have Wrecker. Having access to Wrecker is amazing in Darkside deck, and even, like I said, Tech, to be able to smuggle out. And this is normally something you only have in Heroic, but you've got this in form of just in a deck that's not heroic, so very unique to this one. And you've got Omega for the consistency on searching for clones, because these all got really nice effects. If you haven't seen, Omega is a 2-cost 2/2 unit, a clone unit. She's got the same kind of benefit when she's played as Nalisay for that turn, but then for the first thing you play, but you don't have to worry about that. It's more about our one played effect, which is allowing you to look at the top 5 cards of your deck, to find any clone from among them, reveal it and add it to your hand, put the rest of the bottom of your deck in a random order. So she's a searcher for your clones, and you've got quite a few ones, so you should, sometimes you will miss on this, which is unfortunate, but you should be able to use it as a helpful way to kind of search through. And if you've seen a lot of clones, you can kind of count how many clones are remaining in your deck if you remember the list. and they will look at ones you've got in your resources and played and stuff like that. You should be able to know how many clones you have left to potentially hit, and there are quite a few, but sometimes you will miss. It's depending like how many clones you've seen, how useful Omega is. Early in the game, it's great. Later in the game, it can not be that great. But it's a nice way, especially when you use this to find Wrecker. It's amazing. Then you have Tech, whose ability is to use a free cost 2/5, but you can smuggle out for 4, so you can smuggle out a turn later. If you just want a resource, so easy resource. And he gives all your resources smuggle, and their smuggle cost is 2 more than the actual cost, plus the aspect icon. So you'll always be able to smuggle this in, like smuggle cards in with this. And it's really nice because you can then like resource, especially the clones early on, and you can play out cheaper and bring out more things from your resources. And it's a nice way to kind of make use, like if you have to resource some really good extras, you can put them there and then play them out using Tech, which is really cool. And this aspect combo with Nalase in the base is really good. What brings you some really good cards. Then you have Wrecker, so this is a nice one and something you don't normally expect in a Dark Side deck, but it's something you have access to as well. And very nice one is 6 cost 7/6, so very, very powerful for its cost. Overwhelm's just got some piercing, which can make for some nice ways to finish off games as well. Do that last bit of piercing damage to finish them off. And it goes very well in terms of its effect of when played, you can defeat any friendly resource, and if you do, deal 5 damage to your unit. There's a nice way with him if you can ambush him in to kind of just deal damage to a unit so they're not dead, but they've got a lot of damage on, and then plow through so you can damage to a base and hit a little bit harder to finish off games. I've done that quite often, where I finish off games, opponent manages to control my board, but then a ambush Wrecker comes in and just pushes through their unit enough damage to finish them off at the base. Really cool. Then we got 3 copies because it's great. And those are the bad batch of clones. We have other clones as well. So the other 3 clones we have are Soldier of the 501st, 332nd Stalwart, and Batch Brothers. Now these are really nice because first of all, these 2 here are very cheap ones and they're pretty decent for the costs because they're both 1 costs. They both have 1 power, but the different health. Where the Soldier has 3 health, whereas Stalwart has 2. But the difference is that they both hit for the technically 2 threes in a sense, where the Soldier is a 1/3 on defense, but when it attacks it gains raid 1, so swinging for 2. And the Stalwart, if you've got 2 other units alongside it on the board, which is easy enough to do, it gets an extra 1/1 to its stats, so it becomes a 2/3 if it's got 2 other units on board, which is cool. And then Batch Brothers are really nice, not the most health, just a 2/1 for 3 costs, but it gives you 2 units for 1, because when played it allows you to create a clone trooper token, which is a 2/2 unit. So there's a way to kind of get more units on board. Like this is nice ways to get more units on board to exploit more, and especially with clones, you exploit them. Well, now that's out, you start healing yourself as well. So like these ones are cheap enough to play out to just give you cheap fodder. Remember, exploit is killing off something to reduce the cost by 2. So these are technically providing 2 resources for 1, which is cool because they're 1 cost, but they have 2 resources because they can reduce something by 2 with exploit. And Batch Brothers just gives you 2 units on board for 3 resources, which is really nice. And a good turn 2 play. I have to play like Omega to search Batch Brothers. Make sure you have a turn 1 and turn 2 play, which is cool for when you get the turn 3, and then can deploy Nalase. So those are our clones. So we have place all clones except for Tech. We only have 2 of because he's not more there to resource, and then start allowing you to use your resources when you start running out of hand, or have a lot more resources later in the game where you can basically just bring things out and bring out some bigger things. And also remember, you can exploit when smuggling as well. So when smuggling out, if it's got exploit, you can always just exploit stuff off to do that as well. So do remember that. Next, we've got the ever cards that you can play. Not the exploit ones, but the next lot you can play. So more like the ever low cost cards you can exploit with. So we got ever turn 1 plays being Wartime Trade Official. We've got Federate Courier. And we've also got Poggle Lesser. These are your ever turn 1 planes. But if you don't have Omega or one of these ever little clones to play on turn 1, you've got these as well. So you have the Wartime Trade Official and Confederate Courier are both basically cards that replace themselves when defeated. So both have the same effect. So when defeated, you create a Battle Droid token. So these are cards you can play as early as turn 1. If they get taken out, you still have a unit on board because you still get a token. And they're ones you can also exploit off, and then will give you back a unit, so you've not lost anything while reducing the cost of something you want to play by 2. And they come in both they separate arenas, so you have one for the ground arena being the Water Trade Official, and you have one for space arena being Confederate Courier, and they differ in stats as well. One hits a little bit harder, but the other one's a little bit more bulky. And you got Pockle. This is probably like the better of the turn 1 plays because it starts, as you play more things on board, you start expanding your board to have more fodder for your exploit cards, being bring things out a little easier. Because there's a way, if you have a certain amount of cards, well, yeah, if you have a certain amount of cards on board, there's a potential play where you can get turn 4 and you deploy 2 big exploits out, and yeah, just have 2 huge things, Poggle and RSA on board, and it's like, yeah, and that's as early as turn 3. Where most people, if they leave it alone and leave Poggle alone on board, you can basically set up that, which I've tested and just seems really great. If you pull it off, it's amazing, but if you don't, you still got other plays to do. But Poggle, just every time you play a unit, rest him to create a battle droid token. So you get more fodder, play out more things. Like say, Poggle turn 1. Turn 2, you play Batch Brothers. You now have Poggle, Batch Brothers, a Clone Trooper token, and a Battle Droid token. And then next turn, you've got, if they're all left alone, you've got those 4 units then for exploiting and stuff, which is really cool. Or just more units on board to have more fodder for things like chip damage, or even then if you want to exploit as well. And then we have next one that goes really well with those cards. So like how we've got Omega potentially grabbing out Batch Bros for a turn 2 play, and we've got Droid Commando as our turn 2 play after like playing Poggle one alone or one of his other ones, because it gives you a way to kind of control board, because you it's a solid 3 cost 4/3, which is very good stats, like we saw from Echo Base Defender, and it's one that can ambush if you have an Separatist on board. So by having Poggle, like Poggle, Wartime Trade Official, or Confederate Courier are Separatist cards. So your opponent plays a Ground Arena unit that's got 4 health or less, you can actually take it out with this, and basically just make sure they get the make use of it. So if they got R2, that they play it out, and then want to go ahead and use either 2 of them, then or if they want to go with Rebel. I can't remember the Rebel Trooper that allows them to attack with extra 2+ power. Then they can't do that because you then get to ambush them and hopefully survive. And also you've got Pog on board. You then get to ambush with this and create a battle token. So then you've got 3 units to then exploit next turn, or 2 being the Droid Commando and the what's it called, the battle token. Or you can have the other ones which then stick around and then you can then sort of spot off later, but it just allows you to get some ambush, and it's just something that I felt I needed, because sometimes when I have Poggle down, and before I can fully make use of Poggle, get even just 1 use off it, be taken out. So I decided to put in some Droid Commandos, because it helped for a little bit more of an ambush play. And the other card you've got that's not really a part of the clone package or not a separatist is Cobb Vamp, and this is another one like the Wartime Trade Official and Confederate Courier are ones that you can you keep a unit on board, but when it's defeated, it's going to help you get another thing and keep it on board. But it allows you to play out something, because when it's defeated, you get look at top 10 cards of your deck, discard any 2 costs or less among them to your discard, and then for the phase, or for the rest of the phase, you can play that card from your discard for free whenever you want. So it does take an action to do that, but then it allows you to say the blank Miller, or from the 10, ditch a Omega, or a Walter Chip, like a Poggle, or any of these 2 costs or less, and then play them out, and so say get an Omega out, search for more clones, or Poggle, so you got Poggle ready for the next turn, or even a Wartime Trade Official Confederate Courier, and keep something on play on board, which is cool for the exploit process. And even then, if you go Poggle and then Cobb Vamp, you've then got Poggle, Cobb, and a token, and if they stay there, Cobb Vamp from the token be exploited off, and then Cobb Vamp let's keep a unit there, while getting a unit from Poggle and keep them fodder on board, basically. So those are our ever plays, like our Imperial plays and Cobb Vamp. Next, we're gonna have the exploit cards. So these are the cards you exploited. One of them I did switch up because I felt it wasn't as useful to everyone, and that is Bactoid Spider Droid. So this is one that I didn't have in my deck, and I wish I kind of did, because it's a little bit better. Because I had the Everspace unit that's a 4/7 and can reduce the cost, well, minus the stats on a space unit attacks by 2/2. But I felt like sometimes I wanted, mainly what's played in, where the battles commence, they're mainly in the ground arena, and I felt like since I took out the I can't remember his name, like Admiral. Since I can't remember the name of the Admiral now, but the one that gives you ambush to 6 cost or more, I felt like I need to keep him on board. Normally when he's on board, he was a target being taken out, because they want to give my big units that I can exploit in ambush, so he's going to be taken out, so I don't get to use him as much. Or I've got hope that a compound can mill him, and then I can get to a point where they aren't just passing to wait for me to bring it out. I can bring it out and then ambushing a big unit after exploiting stuff. So I decided to switch out that unit that I never really played, and even then when I saw it more and more when either malevolence or a different unit, I used to just resources. I just switched out for this one because this one has the same thing you exploit to, same cost, but this one has ambush built in, so I don't have to worry about having ambush already, and I can have this to kind of help deal with stuff, especially if I turn 1 have Poggle, then turn 2 draw Commando to ambush the unit, take it out. The next turn I can exploit the Commando and the token Poggle made into this to ambush again. Just basically keep taking out the cards I played the turn before, and the Poggle get a token in next turn, have more like Smuggle again, or even have this bigger unit out that they then can't really do much to deal with unless they can deploy early enough. And you can always get this down because if they do take out your units, you can always deploy Nalase and have 2 tokens then, or 2 droid tokens to ambush the sim or exploit the sim. And the other ones we've got are also the Hellfire Tank for another ground unit because it's very good. 8 cost, 7, 6, that we can exploit 2. There'll be a 4 cost, which is cool. So like Wrecker level stats want a 4 cost, which is easy enough to drop. You got Separatist Super Tank, which is a little bit higher at 9 cost, but an 8/8. And this one has exploit 3, so you can potentially exploit it down to a 3 cost. So this is one that with an event we're going to see in a bit, you can potentially ambush out as an 8/8 on turn 4 by depleting 3 units you have on board, which is enough to get, especially with the deploy from Nalase to get you 2 of the tokens. You can then ambush this in, take out something, and it stay there as a big 8/8 for some very powerful plays to turn after. Our only space unit that's big enough to help deal because we don't need too much for space, we're not focusing on that. And can still help us out is Malevolence. This is a 9 cost, like Super Tank 9 cost, but it's a 7/7, but it's got exploit 4, so you can potentially hit 4 units off the board to reduce it to a 1 cost. And there's a way, there's been like with the perfect combo cards and your opponent leaving your Poggle and ground units alone, you can bring out separate Super Tank and Malevolence in 1 turn on turn 3 when you deploy Nalase, and having those 2 out, and then have, like I say, an overall barrage after means you've got these huge units hitting really hard, and they're hard to take out, especially that early in the game, unless you're like blue or yellow to bounce and pop things. But these are our 2 big units. Also, Malevolence got another thing where it's got Restore, so it's got a little extra bit of healing there outside of the token removal by Nalase. And also, it has a nice effect for when played, giving an enemy unit -4 power for that phase, and make it so it can't attack. So you can stop from attacking, which has been useful in some situations to stop a swing from going through on certain things, and also to then hit hard from space, and also giving yourself some healing as well. So we got 3 each of the exploit ones. So you got like player units then and kill off the clones to trigger Nalase, because you can exploit the clones off to bring these bigger things and trigger Nalase to heal thanks to that. And yeah, just basically just having lots of fodder, like the Imperial stuff, just make it tokens so you can always have fodder, and the clones are just there to try and hit hard, and then if they're just taking out, they're healing for you, so your opponents might leave them alone because if they heal you while Nalase is on board, and then you can just trigger that yourself by exploiting them off as well. And then the only 2 events you might see, I know we haven't got many events in here, and we'll have a look at what these last 2 are. So the first one we've got is Timely Invention. So we've got full 3 hours because it's one that you can ambush in without it being so obvious, and very cheap source. You either keep it in hand to have as a 1 cost event, or resources to have a 2 cost event, since you can exploit some units down to be very low costing, like these 2, the 8 cost being a minimum of 4 resources to play, whereas Super Tank can go down to minimum of 3, where Malevolence can go down minimum 1, to potentially having them to ambush out, to get an attack off, and also exploit some units as well. It's really cool. And the other one is Overwhelm Barrage. Like, being able to get, say, Separatist Super Tank out on turn 3 when you got 4 resources, get that out, and have an 8/8 down, to then the next turn when you get 5 resources after that, to basically just go give it an extra 2/2 and do 10 damage across your board, taking out your opponent's entire board, and then potentially killing whatever they put in, is very, very good. Like, even then, like on a Malevolence, you can then do a 9/9, which is enough damage, or even you can even do it on a Wrecker, have a Wrecker come in, potentially kill something with the 5 damage that it does when it comes down. Next turn, everyone barrage it. Like everyone with barrage with Wrecker, it's something you don't want to see, but seems like a fitting combo. And it's just, that's all I feel I really need. It's just Overwhelm Barrage is just that good, since you can bring out some big units with a lot of power in very early. You can eventually do this, just take out a lot of stuff, do a lot of damage, wipe out your opponent's entire board, and also then hit hard with that. And then Timely Intervention allowing you to then exploit out these big units cheaper, and then be able to ambush them thanks to timely invention as well, and even do timely invention on things like Wrecker or even some units like your Cobham and stuff like that. You would have these little units come down and ambush to finish off units that are just shy of being defeated, and then triggering effects like healing with a clone or then milling something with Cobham to then play out for free. So that is the deck. So that is the well, that's basically what I've built from what I worked out from what they had in the stream, and from testing it a little bit, it just works out pretty nicely. Like you can get some hands where you get no exploit but all the fodder, or no fodder but all the exploit. So it's just, it can sometimes clog a little bit, but it's a lot of fun to play, and you just need to like kind of figure out how you're going to work, and then depend on, see if your opponent knows, because I think there's more of a surprise factor in this that helps you win some games where your opponent doesn't know what's really going on. But also we're going to have a look at side decks. I do have a side deck built, so if you do want to try and take this yourself to a local event or to a bigger event and try it out, I do have a side deck that could potentially help. Now remember, a side deck is something that is more personal to the person, event, or meta, so do take it with a grain of salt. If you don't like it, you can always change it. If you like it, stick to it. So this is my side deck. I've only got 4 cards in there because you got to figure out like how to keep the game plan still going, of like getting loads of cheap units out and exploiting them off to get these bigger units out. You want to kind of have that and then keep Nalase around for healing because you've got a very low health base. So what we've got is 3 general tags. If you can use this to go for a more swarm build, if you go for a more like bring out fodder but you don't see the exploit, you can use this to make him a little bit bigger, because he's got a quite a cool effect where when he's played, you can give experience tokens to up to 3 trooper units. And remember, all token units are troopers, and most of your clones you're playing are troopers, and same with your the little troop things you get from the token units are troopers, and even the droid commandos trooper as well. So you're able to get like 3 battle droid tokens out, or clone tokens, or some clones out. You may give an experience with this. You can turn your little wider board of like exploit fodder into actual threats, which is pretty cool. So you can decide this in if you focus on, if you want to go a bit more wide than just tool these exploit units. Then we've got Droidica Security. So if you want to feel like you need still need your exploit units, but you feel like you need some Sentinels as well, or a bit of defense to help you out, then you got Droidica Security, still doing the exploit of getting rid of some of these cheaper units for a fodder, and could be cheap because it can exploit 2 to go down to a 2 cost, so quite a cheap one to get out, and also give you some Sentinel because he's got a 4 cost with 5 experience. And if you want to, you can switch out some unit, like some cards in there to maybe put in the there's a 1 cost unit from set 1 that when defeated gives you a experience. So you can have that to combo with this to then be a 5/6 potentially, or maybe even if you have 2 of them, a 6/7 Sentinel, which could be very, very useful. But it's more if you feel like you need some defense from your fodder, you can have Droidica Security hitting hard and having a decent amount of bulk in it as well. Then we also got 1 copy of Gore, so if you need another ambush one that could potentially come in for 6, like be a wreck. Essentially, if you want to have like something that could be like Wrecker, but also coming to attack, also be a Sentinel, ambush, and pierce through as well. You can get this as a 6 cost because exploiting 3 to reduce it down from 12 to 6 could be handy. And we got only 1 copy. I do want to fit more of these in, but I think I just went for 1 because I like multiple copies of the other ones. And the last one we've got is 3 Entrenched. Now this is one that can be handy just to turn Nanase into more of a, like keep it around a little bit more with having more health and more power, and being more of a threat as well as sticking around so you can get that heal off on the token exploiting, because you can turn her from a 1/7 to a 4/10, and that allows her to hit a little bit harder. And even though she can't attack bases, she can still help you manage the ground arena a little bit easier, which is cool. Or even make some of like your like if you do have Droidica Security, just having this in as well to go Droidica Security, exploit some stuff off to be a Sentinel, then put an Entrenched on it, so they have to get through that, and it's a little bit bigger, turning it from a 4/5 to a 7/8, which is going to be very hard and very difficult to go over. But also, yeah, you've exploited to get him out a little bit cheaper to put us in the same turn as Nalase can deploy as well. So you can potentially deploy Nalase, play out Droidica Security by displaying those 2 tokens off, and then give it Entrenched, so that was a little bit higher, and then you can start playing out every units and having protected thanks to Droidica as well. So these are the things I put in the side just to help, because I felt like Entrenched is good just to, if you don't see my elements or space units, just put it on the space units to stop them from attacking. Have Gore as well as like an extra copy of, like a strong unit, you can potentially take out, say, like one separatist tank or one of your exploit cards that have this in, and then draw like a security. You can take out, say, like the Hellfire tank maybe to put that in. So if you want more Sentinel rather than a big unit, and then tag if you want to go for a little bit wider, which could be very useful. Moving in like entrenched on Nana, say, and tag as well to just go get some units spread out. And it's very nice one if you can get like multiple out as well. Exploit tag off, bring something in, and then do it again. But that is the deck. So hopefully you've either watched the gameplay of it and then come here to see what the deck is like and try it out yourself. Or if you haven't seen the gameplay, go check it out. It's from earlier this week. Could be in the Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, the gameplays of all 3 rounds. You can see it in action, see how I did, and like just how the gameplay is with it, how fun it. Because I think you can see a good amount of like how the deck does when it gets going, and sometimes how you can kind of go against the deck as well. So that's it for me today. Thank you for watching. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the new year. Bye for now.